FNaF 6, aka Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, has pretty much always been one of the series' most divisive entries in a lot of ways, from gameplay, to character design, to the second time the franchise tried to end. This game has always left people debating on how good it truly is. While I tend to lean more towards the positive side, after all, you hear this game's OST in all of my videos, I can't deny that Pizza Sim has its fair share of issues that could have been polished out. However, of FNaF 6's 3 gameplay sections, one has always felt a lot more underbaked compared to the other 2 in my eyes, with that of course being The Office, a section where all you do is click buttons and stare into the abyss before winning or dying. Despite coming from a franchise with a history of great office sections, Pizza Sim opted for a pretty bare bones version of this concept with not much going on. Thankfully though, there have been several fan games over the years attempting to provide their own version of The Office, and today I want to highlight 3 of them to see how each one stacks up. So get ready as we explore how fans fixed FNaF's most disappointing office. Engraved Establishment is a FNaF fan reimagining of Pizzeria Simulator, with a complete visual overhaul and redone gameplay. Now, before I say anything else about this game, I do think it's important to mention that this game is just in a demo phase, and nothing I'm talking about regarding it today is of the final product as it has yet to be released. With that in mind, let's jump in. Engraved Establishment has by far one of the most unique office-type sections of any FNaF game I've played. Rather than stationing the player in an office with tasks to complete and threats to survive, you're instead thrown into a tower defense section against roaming endoskeletons. And as someone with over 1,000 hours on Bloons TD6, I feel pretty qualified to talk about this section. So let's begin. Starting with the towers themselves, this game features 6 towers to help defend ourselves. The ball pit tower, which shoots out balls to damage enemies, the generator, which adds to our power, aka the section's currency, the kids at play sign, which acts as a barrier, the springed trap, which insta-kills enemies, but only has a few uses, the poppers, which act as a mini bomb, and the pizza oven, which shoots out 3 pizzas at a time for high damage. While this may seem like a lot, these mechanics are all added gradually throughout the playthrough in a way that flows very well, which I really like. Moving on to the enemies, Engraved Establishment features simple bare Endo 1s as enemies, although they do take different forms. What I mean by this is that as the nights go on, the Endos start wearing pieces of animatronics to act as armor, and eventually start wearing full animatronic suits for full protection. Your goal is to not let the Endos reach the security office, otherwise they break down the door and jump scare you. I really want to applaud the concept of the Endos as enemies, as having them slowly progress towards full animatronics by wearing pieces of armor is amazing and really cool. The last thing to bring up here is the map, or more like maps plural. Like any good tower defense game, the maps here start pretty easy with long straight lines, but eventually start incorporating elements like multiple tracks, more winding paths, and less space for towers. There's also a phone in the corner that apparently contains secrets, but I personally didn't bother with it. Overall, I think Engraved Establishment managed to craft not only a great tower defense game, but also just a really cool and unique office section that completely switches up the gameplay. Obviously these sections aren't super scary or anything, but having a proper FNaF tower defense more than makes up for it. Amazing job. Banshee is a fan reinterpretation of Pizzeria Simulator that goes for a much more creepy and frightening approach. This game is actually a full reimagining of FNaF 6, but of course, I'm only talking about the office sections, which features 5 threats throughout the campaign. Afton, Molten Freddy, who is now just Molten, Scrap Baby, Lefty, and Fredbear, who is just the ghost of the crying child. Fredbear has the simplest mechanic of the 5. He changes the office posters to say "it's me" on them, and when this happens you need to close your eyes so that they change back. I do think this mechanic is a bit boring, since you just sit still on a black screen, but using the office posters as a mechanic is cool enough to where I can forgive it. The other character introduced on night 1 is Afton, who will show up at the left door and needs to be stared down so that he'll leave. Another basic mechanic, sure, but Afton's terrifying new design in this game definitely makes up for it. Night 2 adds Molten, who will pop up at the right door occasionally, and do one of 2 things. Either go away, or force you to find them on the cameras and use the audio lure. The RNG of this mechanic is what really makes it cool to me, as you never know if Molten will just go away, or make you find him as an extra challenge. Night 3 introduces Lefty, who's just a simple audio lure character, not much to say. Finally, Night 4 adds Baby, who will show up at your window and walk to either your left or right doors, which you then need to pull shut. Overall, I'm a big fan of these 4 animatronic mechanics, with each one bringing a unique flavor of challenge and horror. But of course, we still have to talk about what you're actually here for, the tasks. The tasks in Pizza Sim always felt incredibly lame to me, as all you do is click a button, wait for the task to end, click another button, and repeat. Banshee, however, has 4 tasks that feel incredibly refreshing and realistic, with one pair having you correctly identify real shipping orders and Fazbear documents, and the other pair having you stabilize the animatronics through inputting codes. Simple busywork stuff like this makes for perfect tasks in my opinion, rather than literally just clicking a button. I do kinda wish that each task was unique, rather than just 2 pairs of essentially the same thing, but the ideas are still solid enough to make that worth it for me. The last thing to talk about for this game is the puppet, who is added on night 5 if you manage to get the secret ending. Not only is this another terrifying design, but their mechanics are also pretty solid. They either show up at the doors where you have to close them, or they hide on the cameras and have to be stared at for a bit. She also replaces Lefty on this night, which makes a lot of sense. Between these 2 aspects of gameplay, I honestly really like Banshee's take on FNaF 6's office segments, as they feel like an incredibly refined, fun, and scary reimagining of Scott's vision. Another amazing job. Freakshow is a FNaF 6 fan game that was popular for a while a few years ago, but nowadays is rarely talked about due to never receiving a full release, instead just staying as a demo forever. Getting into the office sections of this game, we immediately see that we have the exact same setup as Pizza Sim, with an office and vents on either side. In terms of our computer, we have 4 tabs that we can choose from. Tasks, which I'll talk about later, motion detector that warns you about active animatronics, audio lure that plays audio somewhere, and vent lock, which locks off one of your vents. Speaking of the vent lock, I actually think this is an incredible way to include some kind of door mechanic, especially since having the vent lock on increases office temperature, creating a really cool dynamic. The vent locks are also only around the middle of each side, meaning that you have to time them properly to avoid the animatronic slipping by, which is just another layer of greatness to this mechanic. The animatronics in this game function the exact same as regular Pizza Sim, but with the added bonus that you can see them in the vents with your flashlight, which I absolutely love and wish could have been in Scott's FNaF 6. Seeing them twitch around for a bit before retreating back into the darkness is amazing and truly dreadful. Finally, with the tasks, This is by far the most disappointing part of the game. One just has you input a code, one has you play a minigame similar to the Helpy Ball Pit, and one has you literally just hold left mouse button until this bar fills up, which is incredibly lame. Overall, I do think FNAF 6 Freakshow has decently good office gameplay, but this is very clearly a work in progress that needs refining. This is also definitely the closest one to the original FNAF 6 in most aspects, which is a nice change of pace compared to the games that try drastically different things. I honestly really enjoyed all three of the games that we looked at today, but if I had to pick a favorite, I would definitely say Banshee, for being both cool and really scary. I also just want to reiterate that I still absolutely love Pizzeria Simulator, and I simply just think that these games provide a better version of that game's most underwhelming section. Feel free to leave your opinions/suggestions in the comments below, and as always, I'm Supersonic. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.